you can't be your best self unless you sleep and you take care of yourself. And part of taking care of yourself is eating right, but exercising, which could be as simple as walking for you be you. But sleeping's king. I'm just a better parent, husband, employee, leader, motivational speaker, everything when I sleep and I'm rested. So I came up with Win the 16. We all should, most healthcare people say you should be, generally speaking, somewhere between 7 to 9 hours a night to put you in a good spot, especially for sleep. So that's how I split the difference, Dave, and I came up with Win the 16. You've got 16 hours in your day to be your best self.
Unfinished Business Podcast Show with your host, David Sliman.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Boy, do I have a treat today. I got a treat. This guy, I got to tell you, our guest today is really a champion in the leadership, development, organizational efficiency, problem solving, coaching, leadership space. And I got to tell you, when you hear and see his energy, if you're watching this thing live, you're going to get it right away. And I think we met, maybe connected maybe a month ago, probably a little over, and we just hit it off right away. And you're going to see why this guy is a true professional in the leadership space. We're also going to talk about his book, Win the 16, and the principles and strategies to optimize your day. It's going to be a great conversation. Personal, professional development. We're going to throw it all into this box today. And without further ado, I want to welcome the president of PYGON ONE Consulting, Dave Pygon. Welcome to the show. Appreciate you being here, brother.
My new best friend on the West. Dave, truly, thanks for having me. So, not too far from me. I was in Phoenix.
Yeah.
If I remember my geography back from the high school, college days, still a little bit away, but not that far. At least similar time zones.
I lived in Phoenix for 25 years. What part were you in? Scottsdale or what area? All over?
First Avenue, downtown.
Oh, you downtown? Great.
Yeah. Baseball field.
Nice. Great.
Sales meeting. So not too
That's
far.
fantastic.
I just want to let you know, I've listened to some of your podcasts. You're doing a great job. Thanks for helping the rest of us out here who continue to try to learn and progress.
Oh man, no, I love doing the show, and it's guests like you that are that really make this thing successful. So, like I told you, I was really excited to have you on, and I'm ready to jump into this, brother. I'm ready to jump in this. I feel like we've known each other for 30 years. Really, I feel like it's that way. So it's so funny. But yeah, so listen, let's dive in. Okay. Let's start with your journey. Okay.
Yeah.
What inspired you to really start digging in to leadership? I know you're an athlete, so it comes with this kind of stuff, but it's a broad question. But I want to hear really what sparked you to really start jumping into leadership, not just in the business space, but the personal space. And I feel a lot of that bleeds anyway, but talk to me about that and talk to our listeners about that.
Yes. You and I both ex-athletes, I think, and you don't have to be an athlete to be a leader. It could be anything with teams, right? It could be the debate team. It could be the Spanish club, all the different options out there. But just being in a team environment, I just gravitated, and it was very natural, not necessarily to be a good leader. It was because that's different. I love when people go back to the 1840s about leadership is natural skills. I don't agree with that necessarily at all. But I do agree with there was just some natural tendencies to try to lead, whether if you and I were on the same hoops team or football or basketball, whatever, patting you on the back and saying, let's go. Let's do it. And in those days in the South Side of Chicago, we use different terminology. I know the kids now all use let's go. So those kind of things led into my professional life of when I got out of school and I was working ADP as a sales representative, learning the ins and outs from those women and men who were just outstanding. Some of the best salespeople I ever met, and taught me so much. Yeah. I said, I want to be the one in front of the room. I want to be the one leading getting everyone together, rallying around. And that's kind of where it all started for me. And then I was able enough, when I got into my medical world, I got into some training, development, and became a leader when I was 29. And I have not back in terms of leading people or something or a cause all the way dating back to then. And I really like it. I enjoy it. And I find it to be, it's funny. I was in a sole contributor audit for about a couple of years there from the time I was 29 to now 55.
Yeah.
And we close a big deal, and a really big deal.
Yeah.
Dave.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, okay, that's good. It's nice. I get more pleasure out of when people
Yeah.
say, hey, you know, we were talking about that. I kind of figured it out. And man, I'm all ears. I love it. I just love that.
Yeah. Given, I got to tell you too, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love creating the deal. But giving back to people to show them how to do it or to inspire them to do it or inspire, and I don't care how big or small it is, but just to be more, to improve as a professional and personally, I think is it's an honor for us to be able to go through it and recognize it, because there's people who go through it who are successful and just don't recognize they can do it. But also recognizing that you can do it and then wanting to give back is the big difference. And I think that's where you and I align a lot. We love doing it. Like, we feed off it.
Yeah, I got some emails from some of the people I was with this week saying, Dave, I implemented this into my program on Thursday. I implemented this on Friday.
Love it.
I got that this early afternoon. I love that. And people say, well, is it not as much fun or as exciting where you're not actually doing it? And I always tell people, if you do this leadership thing right, you can be not only a difference maker and a game changer, you're a multiplier. So you're just not getting wins for you. You're getting wins for 5, 10, 15, 20, 100 of people. I was in a room with 50 people this week, and I said, team, here's my purpose. I mean, I'm the positive energy guy running around here crazy, man. Here's the deal. You're all multipliers. There's 50 of you in the room. Between your personal and professional life, if some of this resonates, 1 or 2 or 3 things, we're going to affect hundreds of people today. That's why I want you to hang with me, heart and mind. Today is big, and you look at it that way.
Yes.
And that's leadership for me, Dave.
Listen, effective communication is probably, one of the biggest challenges today. And building teams, right? You've built teams ground up.
Sure. Yeah.
Talk to me about some of the key factors that really contribute to assembling, or I would say assembling is probably not the right word, but more developing, high performing teams. Like what's the secret sauce, if there's any, and what's your feedback on that?
I think a couple things. I will tell you, can I go backwards to move forward?
Yeah.
When I early started my career in leadership, when I was 29, 2 things I want to say. One, Tom Dooley was my mentor and one of my top 3 mentors ever. He said, Dave, I don't care what style you ultimately lean on. You need to use all of it, but you need to be consistent with who you're going to be. You don't want to have a roller coaster ride with your team that they don't know what they're getting on a daily basis.
Yeah, good point.
Change, don't evolve, don't change. I didn't say don't change strategies. So I want to tell that to everybody. I guess that would be principle 1 today is, if you're an existing leader or a new leader, I don't care. Just looking in a mirror and saying, am I consistent?
I love that. That's my word, brother. You've got to be consistent. Oh, I love it. That's where we're on the same page. Consistency. Sorry, I just had to jump in because I live by that one all the time. I'm
going to jump off the freeway and I'm going to jump right back on because I didn't fully answer the question.
No, it's great.
I don't like these presidential debates that go on, and because I have a question for you though.
Yeah.
Is when you're leading people, Dave, personally and professionally, every situation's different, but are you a different guy?
Absolutely not. I'm intense. I might be a little more intentional about certain things that I wouldn't be maybe in a one-on-one conversation versus being in a group. Right? Your intentionality might change, but as far as my beliefs and core beliefs and consistency and things, like I carry those. The things that have made me successful in the business world are that really a direct reflection of the things that have made me successful in my personal life as well. And those had to be learned. Those you just, that's my question back at you. And we're going to volley here. I mean, from a leadership standpoint. So to answer your question, yes, I am. From the core, my intentions may be a little bit different in the message I'm trying to get across, but from a core standpoint, yes.
And it has to be different because we're all different learners. We listen differently and we're at different skill sets as well. And we're at different competencies. So you asked me about creating and building a team. What a great opportunity for us out there, whether we're new leaders or existing leaders, when you can build it ground up, right? It's on you. So when I started when I was 29, when Tom gave me that great advice, by the way, my company, we just created in the last month a leadership style assessment, so I can have leaders take it and see where they lean. And the secret sauce is, I don't care where you come out. Like, I really don't. If you come out Democratic type leadership, if you come out laissez-faire like Warren Buffett, or transformational like Liam, I don't care. The point of it is, you just need to know where you lean. And like, for instance, and what I know about you, I don't think you love this style, the autocratic leader. That's Vladimir Putin's, Martha Stewart probably. No offense, Martha, if you're listening, and I hope you are. But I will tell you, I had to learn, because that's not my style either. If you've got an underperforming employee and you've tried everything to develop them, I might have to pull that tool out of the tool belt and be very unilateral, decisive, micromanaging, telling them what to do, because they're not getting it. And we're beyond that. So that's the whole point of this. And when I started early on, I probably didn't use the different light. Let me rephrase it. I didn't use all of them to my advantage to the situation. And when I'm building a team, whether it was then or now, I think then the mistake I made was, especially building a sales team, Dave, I was looking for that charismatic, engaging, competitive person. If they checked those boxes and they had some of the other skills, I hired them. Today, Dave, I need more. I think it's too complex. I think the world has become it's so analytical. It can be too analytical. I get that, but you need to take advantage of analytics. I mean, use the data to help. And it's just so much more complex that when I come up the ranks, that I need people who can handle the complexity of the roles, whether it's Salesforce.com and being able to use that CRM, whether it's the complexity of our clients' problems now. They have more of them. They're bigger. They're harder. I need somebody who can work in that world and be pretty fluent. I didn't say perfect.
Yes. Yep. It's not about perfection. It's about progress, my brother. So I think one of the big things you're saying here, though, is, and I've seen this too, man, and my philosophy has changed through the years, but I will take somebody who has a work ethic over talent any day of the week, because I know that person who has the work ethic is going to be able to go through more challenging periods and persevere, versus the talented person where things have come easy and then things get tough and they fold, right? Like they fold. We've seen that. You get the most talented sales professional comes in and you're like, man, they're going to kill it. 2 days they're gone because they can't handle the heat, right? Of just doing the work. And then you get some people who just can grind and do the work, and they really understand that it's a process. And talk to me about leadership, right? Because you hear, well, leaders are born sometimes, and then you hear, well, leaders can be developed, right? Which I think, I believe both of those actually. But what's your positioning on that, and how do you really more so pull it out of somebody who maybe is a leader within and they're learning to lead. And then also on the flip side, someone who is a leader, because sometimes that might not be the best thing either, because they feel like they know it all, so to speak.
Yes. A couple things. When I'm looking for people, I think you and I would say there's really not just one or two things. Also, based on the actual job description of what we need,
Yeah.
I need somebody who can handle complexity. The question I ask now all the time is, tell me about a time you failed. And I always say this to them. And I recommend my leaders to say this too. Hey, I've been around the block. I get it. Right now, your mind's rolling like, how can I turn this negative into a positive? Stop the bullshit. Like, I don't need it. What I'm looking for, because I believe if you've never failed, you're not being honest with yourself, or you haven't taken a dive in the big waters.
Yep. You haven't risked enough, man.
Take 30 seconds. Think about some failures, because I want somebody who's willing to take the jump, the risk, because I think to be great and really good, playing conservative is only going to get you so far. Now, I'm not saying radical. I'm not saying don't break compliance or anything illegal.
Right.
But I love when I was talking to one leader one time, and he said, you know what I love? Let's minimize the risk and let's take a chance in the moment.
Love it. Love
Minimize
that.
the risk and then take the chance. So I need that. The other thing is I ask them, because here's what I do hear a lot of from my leaders and individual contributors I'll hear them. Oh, I've been doing this a long time. I've been successful for 5, 10, 15 years. And I said, I'm proud of you and I'm happy for you. And it's obvious. And then I ask them this, how is the markets you deal with? How is your competitors? How has the industry changed in the last 5, 10 years? Oh my God, let me tell you how it's changed. And then I say, okay, don't be mad at me. I always say that, by the way. Don't be mad at me now. But think about what we're talking about. You're kind of doing the role the way you've been doing it the last 10 years very successfully. But you just told me the world is so different. You might be getting by. What I'm offering you today is not just getting by, but it's flourishing again like you used to. Because there's no way you can be your best if you're doing the job the way you did 10 years ago, because you know the business and the industry, because you just told me it changed.
I love it, man, because really, leadership, management, culture, everything evolves, right? You got to stay up on top of it. And this really kind of sparked a question for me. So in your experience, the way things have evolved, what are some of the biggest leadership gaps you see in organizations today? Because, it's just, there's stuff evolve. If you don't evolve, you're going to get eaten up or you're going to be outdated. That's just what it is. Okay. But talk to me about that.
You and I become best buddies, so you can tell me you disagree with me, and I'm good with that, because I love this. It's just
Great. Yeah.
two dudes talking. But I think you're going to agree with this, is pressure is so high for a lot of my leaders, VPs, general managers, owners, directors, etc. And I get it, and I understand. But that said, recognition and appreciation, it's dropping by the day. And I've learned from my clients outside the United States, the UK, for instance, which I didn't know this, and that's what's been great about my job, is learning about the global markets and other people. And they're like, you think you all aren't good at showing recognition and appreciation. In London, we're terrible at that. We're worse than you are. I think that is a gap that I see. I see it's inconsistent in organizations, because when I talk about winning hearts and winning minds, I have a step process and principles to follow. I think number 4 or 5 is reward and recognition. Too many of my clients are still transactional in this regard, that I'm not saying we take away from commission plans. I'm all for it and incentive, all of it. But you're only giving them what they earned. That's why it's called transactional. You do this, you get that.
Yes.
So when you say that's a reward, sort of, kind of, but people need more. They need that appreciation, that respect. They need to feel it. And I believe we're getting farther and farther away from that when I get really granular with clients and we're using excuses, time, pressure. And the reality is, I think a good leader, every day you invest in trying to help your people, and when they do things well, you show appreciation. It's time well served.
I think the real key in an organization to that level of recognition, I really feel like the manager level is where that has to happen.
Yeah.
Depending on the size of the organization. I mean, if you're a business, if you're an entrepreneur and you've got, sales professionals under you, then you've got to do that recognition. But the bigger your organization, you've really got to put the responsibility on the management team who are dealing day in and day out with the people who are leading the charge, whether it's even if it's operationally or sales, or it doesn't matter. But the managers really have to take that stake and stick it in the ground and say, I'm going to identify that and be able to have a channel to push that up to the executive level. And I agree with you, though. The recognition, it goes a long way. But I really feel, though, the managers should have that stake in it, man. I really do. Good managers I've seen really can make the difference just by one email, one comment, one recognition. It's fantastic.
I have a slide in one of my discussions, trainings, whatever you want to call them, for leaders. You're either an energy giver or you're an energy suck. You are Dracula and you're sucking energy. And some of my leaders don't even realize that. I'll give you an example. Especially some of my critical thinkers were amazing. I had one executive like, yeah, he watched me doing my talk, and I go, your content's excellent. Your command, your technical. The gap that I would use, because I don't like using weakness in the world I live in.
Yeah.
I don't like using development necessarily. I like using gap. Gap could be, Dave, you're really good at this, but we could get you out of this world on a plane to Mars with Elon Musk if you spend a little time on it. But then you also might have gaps where you're just not good at it or whatever. But this gentleman just doesn't smile. And I just said, if we just look at personalities of people, more than half the people, when you don't smile ever during these calls or live sessions, they're thinking he's delivering bad news, he's in a bad mood, he's mad at something, or he's mad at me. And when they go through that process, whether that's for 5 seconds or 30 seconds, you're losing them. And all it takes is, hey, good morning, Dave. We're going to jump right in today, but I want to say hello to everybody. Hope things are good. That smile seems so small, but it's pivotal. And that's how granular I share with my leaders is sometimes the smallest things that you might say, that's crazy and ridiculous. I'm telling you, it's costing and it's hurting our execution, our strategic mindset, and it's costing us dollars. Little things like that.
Yeah, amazing, man. Listen, I know you were in Inc. magazine too. I read. I did my research, right?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
And it said you were like next to Warren Buffett on some deal.
I got a good story on this one.
Yeah, so, what was that?
How is a fairly nobody from the south side of Chicago, born and raised, still a Chicagoan with this? So I wrote the book. And every 4 to 6 weeks, I write articles and send them to USA Today, Forbes, Inc.
Right.
I send them all over the place.
Right.
Just hoping eventually someone will pick it up and publish it and throw it out there. So inevitably, Dave, I will tell you, a couple of years, I get published. HR.com was another one.
Yes.
Magazine was another one. And all I did was just send it out to these people. Well, this one's funny because the editor who was in charge said, we're going to take your article. Great. Well, then we called back and it said, actually, we can use your article down the line maybe, but instead of doing that, we have a proposition for you. I said, okay, great. And they said, you can be part of an article. You'll have a couple of your quotes in there, but it won't be your whole entire article. It just won't be you. It'll be you and another expert on leadership. And then the editor will write a majority of the curriculum. And the other person will be known as the leadership expert.
Gotcha.
So I go, well, because I wrote a 12 to 1400 word article on leadership and habits and all that stuff. I'm all jacked up. I want my article published, right, Dave? I thought we had it. And then, okay, well, the only thing is the expert that will be with you is it'll be you and Warren Buffett. You're experts in leadership for the article. Here's the funny part. I go, let me think about it. I call my brother, who's a smart guy. He's an ex-chief medical officer at U of I, and he's an anesthesiologist.
Okay.
I go, let me tell you, here's what I got. What do you think? He goes, you got to ask this question? Get in with Warren Buffett.
I love it, man. I love it.
Sorry I wasted your time. Of course, I would love to be with you.
I thought about it. Oh, it's hilarious, man. You're a crack up, brother. I love your energy, man, number one. And just your knowledge, your experiences, I think are fantastic. And I want to talk about another experience, and really that's your book. Okay. Win the 16. It focuses on optimizing your day. We're going to switch here to some of the personal stuff, but again, it bleeds over into the professional as we talk about. But what are some key takeaways from the book that leaders, entrepreneurs can do in their personal or even professional, but also their personal life to strengthen their day and be more effective?
Thank you for asking, first of all. So Win the 16, I got a funny story. I'll kick that off. It might be funny for people.
Okay.
I said, I'm starting the company. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to create a podcast, all that stuff. I go to my attorney and I say, I've got this idea. Mark Twain said, write what you know. Makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Common sense. People, but to me, it was like, got it. Now I got it. So I did. I really wrote a book on how I live my life, who I learned from my mother. She raised 3 boys on her own on the south side of Chicago. Great help from our grandparents, of course, but we lived in the same building together. And I didn't realize, but she was mentoring me as I grew up on efficiency, effectiveness, mental toughness. We've never seen her complain in her lifetime.
Awesome.
So when I put this book together, or I was thinking about, I go to my attorney, I said, hey, I want to do Win the Day or Win the 24. And here's what it's about. It's about kicking ass every day, being your best self. And also that means at 9 o'clock, that might be watching The Golden Bachelor with your wife or husband. It's not about necessarily reading self-help and doing burpees at 10 o'clock. It should be part of your day.
Right.
Being your best self and being a good guy and being a
4 a.m. club. Yes.
Taking care of family, friends, and all that.
Yes.
So that's part of it. And believe it or not, people are surprised sometimes when I'm on stage or when I say that. I said, those things matter. Being your best self and just only focusing on work or only focusing on just maybe your health, that's not all about winning your 16. So finally, my lawyer didn't even finally, he goes, are you out of your mind? I didn't even have to look up to see if that's copyrighted or trademarked. But I went back to the lab and thought about it. And I said, you know what? You can't be your best self unless you sleep and you take care of yourself. And part of taking care of yourself is eating right. Cheating is always good. Go to my mom's. We cheat. It's great. It's just
of course.
But exercising, which could be as simple as walking for somebody, you be you. But sleeping's king. And even though guys like you and I have fought it over the years, you and I have already talked about the whole sleep thing. I'm just a better parent, husband, employee, leader, motivational speaker, everything when I sleep and I'm rested. So I came up with Win the 16. We all should, most healthcare people say you should be, generally speaking, somewhere between 7 to 9 hours a night to put you in a good spot, especially if you sleep. So that's how I split the difference, Dave, and I came up with Win the 16. You've got 16 hours in your day to be your best self.
Love it.
And you start till the end of the day. And the question originally was, what in the book can help leaders and all that?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just start off with the biggie. And the biggie is, at my dinner table, you got 2 minutes, and I've said this so many times, so people are going to think I'm really redundant, but I mean it. You got 2 minutes to tell us how busy you are at the dinner table tonight. Because after that, nobody cares except maybe my mother. It's not motivating. It's not inspiring. And no offense, none of us are paid to be busy. We're all paid to be productive. And I believe everybody, no matter what your job is, there should be a scoreboard. And at the end of the day, whatever time it is, you work nights, days, afternoons, the bike ride home, the walk home, or you work out of your house, was I productive? What does my scoreboard look like? And a lot of my leaders and executives tell me how busy they are all the time. And I always say, is there anything in your life that you truly say, I would do it if I wasn't so busy? And inevitably, most of them will say to me, yes, they are. Then I go, it starts right now. If I'm on a one-on-one with my executives or a group, I go, it starts right now. They're like, what do you mean? If it's important, we are going to find it. And we're going to micromanage the way you do your life and your business until we go. A prime example, right now, if you're selling anything in the city of Philadelphia for the Super Bowl or in Kansas City, your clients or potential clients, most likely, if they're football fans, are going to take a decent amount of your time to talk about the Chiefs or the Eagles.
Yes.
And your salespeople and your sales leaders out there are thinking, yeah, Dave, but I got to do that to build rapport and connect. Are you saying don't build rapport and don't connect with my man? I am saying it. What I am saying is don't be mad when that executive or important decision maker says, oh, God, time is run and I go. We got to go. You know you're on limited time with your clients. Whether you set the time or not, we all know they are going to push the off button at some point in person or on video. What I tell people is build a rapport for 10 minutes about the Chiefs. But no offense, you're doing it for 15, 20, 25, and then you get cut off because he or she has to run. What we have in the book is a chapter on steps, how to be more efficient and effective with your time, and some of the watch outs, as well as when I do classes and courses. The average person checks email 28 times a day.
Wow.
When I ask people who do, like, I don't do it that much, they're like, but my clients want me to respond. Has a client ever responded to you if you don't respond to them in an hour? No.
Yeah.
Most of the time when I ask people who respond right away to their clients, I always ask them, do you like when people respond to you right away? They're like, yes. I go, totally get it. You be you. But you know what you're doing? The way you want to be treated, you are not treating all your clients that way. So when you ask for something, I don't want to say it's impatient. I don't want to say it's something you don't need. You don't need to be responded to right away on everything. Neither do your clients. So when you do that, no offense, you're living this vicious cycle. So you're coming home and you're saying, so busy today. But some of that stuff could have put off. So you could have gotten to, which in the book I talk about it, what is the priorities for that day? 1, 2, 3, 4. They have to get done. Like for me, it's no questions asked. I have to contact at least 2 people I'm not doing business with every day. If I'm in Phoenix, no excuses. I've got to find and talk and get time to reach out to 2 people. So that's 10 new people every week. No excuses.
Love that, man. I want to go back. I want to go back a little bit because I want to just jump into this. I don't know if you're a golfer at all.
No.
Okay. But the analogy of what you talked about is so funny about building a rapport and talking too much and getting 2 minutes to really talk about your day. If there's one thing that bores the heck out of me, it's when someone wants to tell me about their golf game that day. Like I want to know this. I want to know their score. Okay. And if you've told me your golf game one day, don't be offended. Okay. I'm just telling you that. It just tell me your score. Tell me the good shots you hit and the bad ones you hit. That's all I want to hear. I don't want to hear when you walked up to 16 and you went and you saw this, and then they get into this long story and they lose me in about 10 seconds. I don't even know what they're talking about. And it bores the shit out of me. Okay. I don't want to hear that. So I agree. You got to create some rapport, but don't bore the shit out of me with it. And, I think it's so funny that people really get so caught up in what they're talking about. But more importantly, I want to know the score of what you're doing. And I want to know what you did really well. And I want to know what was challenging. And that's it. And that's the same thing in the business world, right? It's like if I'm with someone, I want to know what the score was, and I want to know what went really well, and I want to know what was challenging, because I'm going to put pressure on both those things. And I just think it's a good reflection of what you were talking about. There was another question I wanted to ask you, but I just lost my train of thought. But anyway, this is great stuff.
You'll get it back.
It's great stuff.
In the book, it's just, and no disrespect to my CEOs, VP, general managers, sales reps, manufacturing people. I know you're busy. I get it. And I'm sure a lot of you are like, I could work 7 days a week, 10 hours, 15 hours a day. I get all that. What I do is I'm not saying you're not busy. What I'm saying is your time is so valuable. Even though your title's not CEO, you need to be the chief executive officer of your time every day. It's your time. And I know some people are vampires and they take it. You need to know. I ask them when we're doing training sessions, okay, write the initials down of people that are time vampires in your life. Now, they might be sitting next to you, so do it small. But I go, I'm not saying you eliminate those people from your life. What I'm saying is you need to be aware of that. And if you know Billy is going to take this amount of time when he calls you or walks into your office, you need to set that stage with Billy. Say, Billy, hey, I love you. I got 10 minutes. Can we do this in 10?
Love it.
Yes.
Love it, man.
Instead, you get caught up in the washing machine. And I always say this, and I've already said this, I love you. I like my clients. I'm like, Denise, I love you. But you're causing your own problem. Don't be mad. You're not setting a boundary. Billy got 10. I learned this from the Navy SEALs this summer, and the one Master Chief said, what we do really well is we maximum information in a minimal amount of time. We're going to talk about 10 minutes on this topic, and then we're done. And I think about a lot of my clients in corporate America. You get them on the phone, and the topic was supposed to be this, and it ends up starting with that, and we barely get to the topic we were supposed to be on, or vice versa. And now I'm 40 minutes into it, and now I'm like, oh, I was supposed to call my buddy Dave in Utah, and I didn't today. Well, that's your responsibility.
That's it. Yeah.
And when I get people to micromanage that, they end up coming back and saying, I can find time. Somebody taught me this a while ago.
Yeah.
If you need somebody to do something, find somebody who's really busy. They'll get it done because they know how to do it.
Yeah. Great point. Great point. You got to clip that one back for sure. What are the principles? You talked about some principles that'll optimize your day. And I love the first one, right? But give our listeners in the Win the 16 those principles. I think there are 5 of them I had listed here, but some principles that can assist you in optimizing your day. I'd love these. It
starts as soon as you get out of the bed. Are you crawling out of the bed or are you jumping out of the bed? That's a choice. One tip for those of you who struggle getting out of your bed, I'm not a sleep psychologist or doctor. What I am, though, is this. If you wake up and you go to yourself right away, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you'll go.
Heard that. Yes.
It just works.
It's great.
Have a glass of water right by your bed. The data just shows we lose between 12 and 30 ounces when we sleep. We're starting dehydrated, and we all rush to get coffee. I don't, but some do. Get water and drink it right there. You knock out 10 ounces, 12 ounces right there on the spot. You're well on your day to having a hydrated day, which helps with your energy. It gets you back hydrated. It gets you flowing in the morning. Because to be your best self and win your days, it starts that quickly. So within 30 seconds, you've jumped out of bed, and did that. You've drank some water, and then you start your day in your routine, and you don't check phone. You don't check email. Get your day started on a positive note, whatever that is. Working out, it might be stretching. It might be a 10-minute walk. It might be reading something, but get you out. That would be step 1. I call it early successes in your day. By the time I get to wash my face or take my cold shower, I've already had my water. And we know the average person is depleted in their water. They're not drinking their 80 to 120 ounces of water a day. And it's not that hard, especially I'm 55. I don't drink anything after 7 p.m. for the reasons everybody could probably know. But I'm knocking it out already. I get 12 ounces within 10 seconds. So early successes to your day. Get up early. Some people say, I can't get up early. And I read this in a journal years ago. You start getting up every day early, you'll start to go to bed early.
Yes.
And that's big in the book. Create the habits, which then will make discipline so much easier because you're creating the habits. Go to bed and turn the TV off. Put the social media phone down and just go to sleep. So then you'll get up. You'll be ready to go.
Yeah. I got to jump in on this, okay? Because the habits and the discipline, like the habits and rituals create the discipline, right? And when you don't have habits and that discipline, when things start going awry in your life, which they will, because we know life is it can be a roller coaster sometimes. Yeah. What happens is you start going back to bad habits, okay? But if you can create that, the consistency in rituals or consistency in waking up and having the water and then going working out, it's like when things get tough for you, you'll be able to handle them a lot better. People don't understand that. If you can create that discipline and rituals and things that you can do to keep yourself on track, what happens is when things go off track, you can get back on a lot quicker. But if you don't have that, what happens is you can go down a hole and never come back, or just have any consistency in your life. And I just want to make sure that I made that point, because I'm a big believer in that. And again, we have a lot of alignment, but I love, that was one of the big points that stuck out to me as far as a principle, which was habits and discipline. It's a big one.
Yeah. If anybody says, hey, I'm going to do something this year, I'm like, that's amazing, Dave. I love it. I love your aspiration. I love where you're headed. Can I ask you a question? And they're like, yes. What habit are you going to create and delete to achieve that goal or aspiration?
Love that. Love that. That's a great way to look at it.
Your success in 2025 are only going to be as strong as the foundation of your habits and the elimination of some that are hindering you. That's it.
Yeah.
Really simple. You want this? The next question, all the leaders out there, if anybody says, I know some organizations, they have reward trips and additional compensation. If you ever get that employee says, I'm going to win this, or I'm going to make this, awesome. Love it. What habit are you going to create this year and delete to get yourself in the best position to get there? If they don't have an answer for you, don't make them feel bad. Just say, when you get there, let me know, because I want to know what you're creating, because I want to hear it, because maybe I can share it with other people.
Yeah, this is so aligned with my philosophy, because goals essentially are what? They're results, right? That's all goals are. Yeah, goals are results. But what gets overlooked all the time, and I talk about this a lot, is the commitments. The commitments are the most important thing. The commitments are things that are going to move the things that you have to do day in and day out in order to move the needle are going to get you to your goals. It's not the goal. The goal is a stagnant result. That's all it is. But you have to really focus on 3 or 5 at most, usually, commitments that you need to make in order to get to that result. And it's funny, on the show recently, I really do. I end it with, I'm going to say it again today, go get a win. I always tell everybody, go get a win recently. And I like health, success, but go get a win. And this came from my 12-year-old. Okay. He was having a rough time at school this year. He was having a rough time, maybe not choosing the best friends. And, he's 12. He's trying to figure it out, the kid, right? But he's got a good heart. He's not intentionally malicious or anything like that. He's just trying to figure it out. So he started going down a path probably we didn't want to go. My wife and I stepped in immediately and we're working. We had him unfortunately, we had the principal's office. Long and short is this. You got to break them down a little bit, but you got to build them back up. And that's the biggest thing. And what I tell him is every day is I say, dude, I don't care how small it is. I don't care how big it is. Go get a win today. Get a win. And then what happens, Ryan, is you're going to start stacking wins. When you start stacking wins, that's where you're really going to start making progress, right? And like and I asked him at the end, when he comes home in a day or I pick him up, I'm like, dude, how'd it go today? He goes, I got a small win. Or he'll go, man, Dad, I got a big win today. And like, it's already starting to condition him at 12, soon to be 13, about getting a win. And sometimes you just forget. It doesn't have to be a huge win in a day. Sometimes it could be just getting out of bed, like you said, or coming with a good mindset. And that's why I love strategy, because this can be conditioned. This can be learned. You can really move yourself into the right direction just by starting small.
Oh, in the book, I use the vernacular, we need to celebrate small wins.
Great.
That's
Love
it.
it, man.
Yeah. And in fact, when I was in Phoenix this week, I actually said, I actually had a little at the bottom of one of my slides. I said, what I just asked us all to do, including me, for those of you in the audience that maybe you're behind plan in the organization here,
Yeah.
it's in one of your people gets a small win. It's really hard to give them the respect or appreciation that they really deserve. Now that I said that, it's absolutely our job to. No excuses. We got to take care of that because we're leaders. As leaders, we got to put aside. There's no crying in baseball. We've signed on for a big thing here. And if somebody has a small little win, I don't care if we're behind plan or having a tough day. We've got to be able to rise above that as leaders and go, you know what, Dave, that was phenomenal. Great job. I know how hard you worked on that. And that was a nice win for you. So kudos. That's got to, that's,
Yeah.
but I will tell you, now that you say this, I look back and I think, I was in corporate America. I think I was part of the problem along with everyone else in corporate America. And I think most people are still this today. Most people, HR usually spearheads this too with the leadership team. What do they always ask for? What are your goals this year?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that a very common question around the form or
Yeah.
yeah. And the reality is it should be, okay, that's fine. But right underneath should be, what habits are you creating to achieve your goals?
Yeah.
But it's not. Unless you do that as a leader yourself, that's not on anybody's form at any of these companies. General comment, somebody could prove me wrong.
Yeah.
That's really, Dave, what we should be doing. It should be what goal. Okay, now tell me about the habits you're going to create or delete to get to where you want to go.
Yeah. And that's why metrics are so important, especially in the sales world and building a successful organization. When it comes down to it, you need to know how many touches it's going to take you to get an appointment. You need to know how many appointments it's going to take you to get a sale. You need to know your average sale. Okay, you need to know the metrics, whatever it is for your business. But it all starts with the first habit, and that is making touches and contacts and having like you talked earlier. Listen, I'm going to make touch base with 2 new people each day, right? Like that is a commitment that you've made that you know is going to foster results as you go along. And I think organizations really need to understand that a little bit more versus just looking at, again, what we're talking about, and that is the damn goal. Okay, the goal is to hit $10 million for this quarter. Okay, well, what is it that it's going to take to all those things that are going to lead up to that point? And I think that's what's most important. Let's shift gears here. I want to talk mindset because I know this is in your wheelhouse, but controlling your mindset and being capable to do it when it's not going well, and also when things are going well. Like, right, how to harvest that and how to cultivate that as well. So talk to our listeners about your approach on mindset in those areas.
Thanks for asking that question. I didn't know you were going to ask that. I love you too. Love that you do that. My clients that I see often, and I get in front of them, I always tell them, this might seem redundant to you, but any topic we're trying to get a little better at, whenever you see me, it starts with mindset. It starts with the mind, how you're looking at things. And if I can get your heart and your mindset right away for the next hour, 2, 3, or 4, we will get a competitive edge and we will win together. I'll get a little better and so will you. But everything's about the mindset. You come home dragging, You got to find a way, because your son, Ryan, no offense, he doesn't care if he had a bad day. And I always tell people, I have bad days too. I come home tired, whatever it is. What I do say, though, is not fair. If you're routinely coming home tired and your mindset isn't great at home routinely, that's not fair. It's not fair to whoever you live with. The dog, the cat, anybody. It's incumbent upon us. So you asked the question, how? It's a skill. We have to think about it. It has to be top of mind. Many people, many organizations, let's go back to companies.
Yeah.
They're always thinking about their widget. I'm always thinking about, before I get to the widget, what do I have? What am I dealing with? I got the best advice that I got in my kids' travel baseball team 20 or 12, 14 years ago. It's in the book, actually. I talk about it.
Okay.
The gentleman who ran this travel organization, he made all the ages from 17 down to, I think it was 8. Everyone, when they walk in to practice and when they leave practice and games, each player has to shake all the coaches' hands when they walk in and when they leave. I remember the coach or the owner, I said, thank you so much for teaching my kids how to truly shake a hand. I go, we get compliments on it from people. And I go, I'm not taking credit. It's Coach Dave Pygon. He mandates it his organizations. He goes, yeah, but they look at it. You go, yeah. And I go, Dave, thank you. He goes, that's great. And I'm glad they do that. That's not the main reason or the real reason we do it. I said, why? And this leads something. It's going somewhere, buddy.
Yeah.
And it's this. Dave, we're not arrogant enough to think when a kid comes to our practice or our games, we don't know what's going on. Did dad or mom give it to him on the way there? Do they have a problem, the older kids, with a girlfriend? Did they get into a little bumper accident? Are they having a bad day? We know that right out of the gate because we can see their body language. We can see they're interacting. So now I know what I'm getting. Now, on the back end, it gives me the opportunity when I get on a kid or any of our coaches get on a kid, they could go to your little Ryan. Hey, little Ryan, today, when I was getting on you about your leadoffs and hitting the cutoff man and you kept on missing it, I'm doing it because I care. And you know what's great? I'm going to see you in 2 days. We get to do this again. Go have a great night. Go have dinner with your family, and I'll see you, okay? It's a way to connect with the play. Think about if we did some of this with our employees, that when we got into a room with them to see what am I dealing with. I get an employee who's at a meeting, and I know they just lost a big deal that's going to affect their pocketbook, or I know they've got this. I might need to do a special engagement with them to get into their mindset to help them as a leader. So that as leaders, what we can do, I guess the point of the story is identifying where our team is at. Now, I know we got HR and compliance we have to deal with.
Yeah.
Just have to be careful. So I'm not saying to dig. What I am starting to say is, you know your people, you know their body language. And no offense, most of them are not Julia Roberts or Brad Pitt. They're not great actors. You can see it. You can feel it.
Yeah.
You can sense it, that they're out of character. And they just might need that encouragement. I had a slide the other day. I said, sometimes we just need to tell our people it's going to be okay.
That's just it, man. It's going to be okay. You said something earlier too about having your heart in it. And when I do speaking events, I don't do it all the time, but it comes and goes sometimes in my mind. But do you all realize the brain has a ton of electromagnetic energy, right? But do you know the heart has 5,000 times more power of electromagnetic energy than the brain does?
Oh, I had no idea.
So when you combined, this is why this is important. When you combined the brain, which is somebody who's talented or smart, right? Because that's a brain, and they're putting their heart into it, that's when you see the true champions, right? That's the difference between being good and being great. The good people can put their heart into it or they can put their mind into it. But the ones who are really great are the ones who can actually take their heart and mind, put it intentionally together, and that's where the gap of difference. Yeah, isn't that interesting?
And now that you said it, that makes total sense.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's so cool. So it's unbelievable.
One thing onto this, you got me.
Say that.
Can I add?
Go. I love this.
When we talk about developing our mindsets, it sounds real easy. Where people say, "Oh, it sounds real easy what you're saying," and then I even have in the book. I think there was one of the chapters. It says, "Is it okay to go negative?" And I tell people, 100%. It's healthy. It's normal. You should. What I say though is, you just got to be able to. If you're one of those people where when something really goes bad, professionally or at work, and it happened at 9 a.m. and you allow it to drag you down till 3.
Yeah.
What I'm asking you to do is, how about if we just, by 12, we say, done with that, I'm going to move on. You've now just given yourself 3 more hours of trying to be efficient and effective and being your best self. So I'm not saying to be perfect. What I'm saying is, and have that self-awareness, because we know having that negative mindset. The other thing is, people are like, oh, not everyone's so positive. Like, I'm not either. What I'm telling you is, when a problem hits guys like Dave and I, it's this. We think of this. I want to handle hard better. And to handle hard better, instead of going from positive, negative, back to positive, the way Dave and I, and Dave, please, I don't want to speak for you, but I think
go ahead.
The way we handle hard better is, we're positive, something really hard, problem hits. We don't necessarily go to negative that often. We might, but we go neutral. Okay, let's think about this. How do we?
You said the word. You said the word, and it's exactly what I say. It's the trigger. It goes, okay. Like that. I think the way you said it, and the first thing I go to is, okay. Like, it calms me, it sets me, it level sets me, right? And that's where you're at. And I'm sorry to cut in, but you said exactly what I say, which is, okay, listen, we know it's going to be okay. So that's kind of our reaction, but go ahead. Sorry.
And we know what I always tell my people is, hey, we're in a tough one here. I remember leading during COVID. I said, I don't know when, well, let's just throw COVID out, but any problem that happens at work, I don't know how we're going to fix this. I don't know when. I know that's not what you want to hear. I just believe, though, it's going to work out. I do.
Yeah, that's great, man.
It usually does.
It
usually does. There's different data out there that, I've read before. 97% of the things that we think bad are going to happen never happen. I've seen 90%. Whatever number you want to pick, you could pick on one of them. The point of it is, whatever number you believe in, usually the things that we're most worried about never even come to fruition. So my take is, until I know I'm really going off the deep end, I'm going to believe that we're talented enough, we're good enough, we're smart enough, we're going to get there. I just don't know when. So be patient. And the real problem ultimately is, people want instant gratification. It's their ability to live in what I call kind of the suck zone, the suffering zone, the torture zone. Unfortunately, for some people, it's not really great.
Yeah.
Right now, I know I'm training for the Ironman. My swimming is right now not good. I've had 3 bad, horrible swim days. Bad. And you are my friend and expert at this. But we're going to talk offline on this.
Yeah.
That's really bad. So finally today, when I did it this morning, instead of thinking about how horrible my breathing is, how bad my form is, because it's really not good, and being negative, I just swam with a wetsuit on in a pool, and I counted by 4s up to 1,000 and then back down. It took so much work when I was at 996. Okay, 1,000, 996. I got through 2,500 meters in an hour and something, and it was less painful because I took my mind off of the problems that I'm having in the pool, and I got through it, and it was a win.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And you broke through the thresholds. Listen, man, I got to tell you, we got to do this again. I'm not kidding.
Look,
we have to get, or I'm getting on your show, one of the two.
Oh, yeah,
we have to have you. We have to have you back on, because This
Amen.
has been a fantastic interview. Where can people Dave, where can they get a hold of you? We're going to do this again. I'm definitely want you back on the show, okay? Because we're going to talk some other stuff, because I had like other things that were rolling. I wrote down questions, but realistically, what are some, where can people get a hold of you?
Thank you for asking. And thanks again. I thank you for giving people the opportunity for them to share information that maybe we're helping some people. And that's just
I hope we are, man. That's what it's all about.
kudos to you. And if it's only one, awesome.
That's it.
PYGON ONE Consulting here in Chicago. We go everywhere now. I can be reached directly at the letter D, Pygon, that's DPYGON, at PYGON ONE, that's PYGONONE.com. And I'm on social media, Dave Pygon.
Yeah, we'll throw it up there.
I'll talk to anybody.
We should do something together somehow, some way, figure out something to work on. It would be a lot of fun. I just, again, I appreciate your energy. I appreciate your compassion, your passion, I should say, compassion for people, leadership, being intentional, and everything that comes with being somebody who can impact a professional or their personal life professionally, or a professional personally or professionally. And I think it's fantastic, man. So thanks for being here.
Thank you, Dave. Great job today.
Yeah, great job. You too, man. All right, everybody. Wealth, health, success to all of you. And go get a win. Like I told you I was going to tell you, go get a win today. Stack a win. And again, Dave, this show is getting legs because of guests like you. And I appreciate you. And I mean it. I want to have you back on. We got to talk more and give our listeners more of this great stuff. So thanks again for being here.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Unfinished Business Podcast Show with your host, David Sliman.